Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I don't know the Prem Dhwani, so if someone can do it. So I welcome everyone to today's class. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 30. And the title of this chapter is Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. So over the course of the past 3 to 4 weeks, we have been going through specific incarnations. And as recently, we have been going with the Krishna, when Krishna descended as himself in the Dwapar Yuga. So this is a very unique incarnation of Krishna in that we see him coming not just for just one specific duty, as in the case of like when he incarnated, as say in the case of Varaha Avatar, he came just to relieve the planet Earth from her distress. She was located in the Garbhodaka ocean, and at that time, it was the demon Hiranyaksha had placed her in that sort of pitiful situation. And just to relieve her of this burden, Krishna came, or Lord Vishnu came as the Varaha avatar. However, with Krishna Leela, we see it from conception in the womb of Devaki, and all the way till he departs and returns to Golok Vrindavan. So we see from babyhood, from childhood, we progress to the adolescence, then we see him as an adult, and then until he finishes his Leela. So this is very unique. And in every instance of this incarnation, there's something dramatic happening, some sort of special circumstance happening. And in the past few slokas, we've seen, like it's been mentioned with the Putana demon. So like Putana at that time, what was happening, like Kamsa had set out to kill the eighth son of Devaki and Vasudev, he ordered Putana to go to all the nearby villages and kill the newly born children. And how did she go about doing this business? She applied poison on her breasts, and then she fed that poisoned milk to all the babies. So now, with this context, we will recite this verse. So, Grinita yad yad upabandam ushamata Shubham Shutashana Tutat Dharmushamati Yajrimbata Shabha Dhane Bhuvani Gopi Shamviksha Shankita Manaha Pratipodita Shit. Grinita, by taking up, yat yat, whatsoever, upabandam, ropes for tying, amusha, his, mata, mother, shubham, ropes, sutasha, of her son, na, not, two, however, tat tat, by and by, amusha, his, mati, was sufficient, yat, that which, jrimbataha, opening the mouth, Asya, of him, Vadane, in the mouth, Bhuvanani, the worlds, Gopi, the cowherd women, Shamviksha, so seeing it, Shankita Manaha, doubtful in mind, Pratibodhita, convinced in a different way, Asyat, was so done. So, we'll go through the translation of Prabhupada, and then we'll delve into the verse. The translation by His Divine Grace says, Ki Jai. When the cowherd woman, Krishna's foster mother Yashoda, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, Lord Krishna, by and by, opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. Purport. One day, Lord Krishna, as the naughty child, disturbed his mother, Yashoda, and she began to tie up the child with ropes, just to punish him. But no matter how much rope she used, she found it always insufficient. Thus, she became fatigued. But in the meantime, the Lord opened his mouth, and the affectionate mother saw within the mouth of her son all the universes situated together. The mother was astonished. But out of her deep affection for Krishna, she thought that the Almighty Godhead Narayan had kindly looked after her son just to protect him from all the continuous calamities happening to him. Because of her deep affection for Krishna, she could never think that her very son was Narayan, the personality of Godhead himself. That is the action of Yogamaya, the internal potency of the Supreme Lord, which acts to perfect all the pastimes of the Lord with his different types of devotees. Who could play such wonders without being God? Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shlokaya Chakshurumlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hripriye Vanchakalpatarubhastra Kipa Sindhu Pevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnanebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tata Jaya Udirayat Nastaprayasha Bhadrashu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. So, this verse refers to the pastime of Yashoda Mata binding Lord Krishna. And this pastime that is affectionately referred to as Damodar Leela. Now the month of Damodar month is coming up, so this is a very timely verse in this situation. So as we see in this case, we see Mother Yashoda attempting to bind Krishna. Now, when someone is first introduced to this topic, and we are informed that Krishna is God, but now we see God as a child. Now, how can this be? In his discourse on this verse, Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj introduced it as so, and he confronts this modern mind where their understanding of God is an all-powerful creator, an almighty individual who's seated on his throne, and there are people lined up to meet him. But now we see this God as this child who just because his mother put him aside, and is now threw a tantrum, broke pots in the household, and just to seek her attention. And this is unlike any other description of God we find anywhere else. Now, these most intimate pastimes of the Lord, they are easily misunderstood. And it has been stated in this verse that these are done through the under the medium of Yogamaya. So, unlike our sort of dealings we have in this material world, which under the purvey of Mahamaya, the interactions of the devotees and the Lord, like these transcendental interactions, they are under the purview of Yogamaya. So before we try to appreciate and relish such verses, we need a thorough understanding and thorough cleansing of ourselves, or else we would be misled by these sort of interactions. And later on, as the chapter progresses, we go even into more intimate pastimes. So, this is, as we begin. Sorry. Okay. So, we have a companion verse to this, because for those who are unaware of what has happened prior to this verse, what was going on is we have Mother Yashoda. She was churning butter, and at the same time there was milk on of oven. So when Krishna, wanting to have derived that affection from his mom, he was like tugging on a sari. So then, as a consequence, Mother Yashoda picked up Krishna and placed her on her breast and let her suckle from a nipple. And then, however, at one stage, the pot that was on the oven, it started to overflow. And thus, she put aside Krishna, and then she went to attend to the pot on the oven. But however, Krishna was very displeased with that. And as a consequence, he started passing off fake tears, and he broke a pot. And then from there, he took the butter and started eating it. And I was hiding because he knew he had done something wrong. So he was hiding and eating this butter. So then Mother Yashoda, when she found out what had happened, she picked up a stick and was ready to chastise Krishna. But however, seeing that Krishna was very fearful upon seeing that stick. So she had changed her mind. She said, no, I won't beat him with a stick. I will bind him. And then there was Krishna was currently, he had seated on a mortar, a grinding mortar. So then she was attempting to bind him with the grinding mortar. So these are the ropes that has been discussing in this verse. And now it is said here that the rope was always found to be insufficient in length. So the concept of trying to bind God himself, this is something that many yogis attempt to, in their sadhana, they try to subdue the Lord himself, like with the prose, like to make him serve his needs, what they want, derive some power, some prowess in that sense. However, they cannot achieve this. And even in this case, Mother Yashoda was failing, and then she had finally given up. However, upon giving up, it is said, she stumbled, she didn't stumble, sorry, but she saw Krishna open his mouth, and within there was all these universes situated. So the significance of this verse is twofold. The first portion is that someone is trying to bind the Lord himself, try to subdue the Lord himself, and the second is that we see that within this child, all the universes are situated. So in connection with these 2 points, we can refer to what I had, when I was preparing for this class. I found my answers all found within the 4 seed verses of Bhagavad Gita. So these verses are found in chapter 10, and they will go from 10.8 to 10.11. So in connection with my first point, how can one attempt to bind the Lord himself, we find from 10.9 and 10.10. So these verses go as follows. Machitta madgata prana bodhyanta parasparam katayantasra mam nityam tushyanticha ramanticha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. And the consequent verse, Tesham Satya Yukta Nam Bhajaram Priti Purvukam Didami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mam Upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So, in this case, I had aforementioned that these transcendental pastimes are occurring under the purview of Yogamaya. So, and with this knowledge and context known, this attempt of trying to bind Lord Krishna, this is out of affection that this relationship is taking place. And as follows, we in trying to imitate that, we are not at that platform of understanding. So that is what I took from that point. And secondly, from that point of seeing all these universes that were situated within the mouth of Krishna, we can we can deduce that with the 10.8, whereas Aham Sarvasa Prabhu Matta Savam Pravatite Iti Madhva Bhajantamam Buddha Bhavan Samanvitaha. So we find that all the emanations and the source of all creation is Krishna himself. So to find that all these universes are situated within his mouth is not too far-fetched to perceive. So as a consequence, this doubt is also understood. But still, Mother Yashoda, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. So Mother Yashoda, despite seeing all this evidence that her son is unusual, unnatural, he has all these mystic potencies, she was convinced in a different manner of the mind, in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. And this, Srila Prabhupada says, is the action of Yogamaya. So then in amendment to this point, from what I derived, from what understanding I can apply practically, why was this rope insufficient in length? And in the end, Mother Yashoda actually ended up successfully in tying up Krishna. It wasn't that she was unsuccessful; she ended up succeeding. However, for this, the rope was always found to be short by 2 inches. Now, these 2 inches, I recall when I was younger, His Grace Devaki Nandan Prabhu and His Grace Viraj Krishna Prabhu, they mentioned that these 2 inches referred to the two qualities: determination and in our endeavor. So in our bhakti, we should be determined, and also we should make numerous endeavors. So these are 2 main points. No matter what struggles we may face and what we may do, we have to be determined in our sadhana. And for me, that really struck me. And when I was preparing for this course, this class, I should say, that also affronted me, because up until maybe this year, I'd been practicing Krishna consciousness for 15 years or so, but that determination, it was absent. It was more so a ritualistic endeavor with which I was go through the motions. But there wasn't that determination or that drive that I must push, I must move forward. And listening to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaja's offering on Srila Prabhupada's Vyas Puja, he likened our movement as Srila Prabhupada's army. So as individuals in his army, we are like warriors. And most warriors or soldiers, they're determined. They go about their business and they have a fixed goal in their mind. So as devotees, when you ask most people would not have a fixed goal, where do you see yourself in 2 years' time? Where do you see yourself in 3 years' time? These are commonly asked questions in career interviews or when in the job place. But these are not as commonly asked amongst devotee community. So this is something that we must take to heart. And then the second part was our endeavors. So as devotees, we should endeavor to the most of our capabilities. I listened I can't recall where I heard this, but there was an offering wherein the devotee, he had mentioned that he wanted to serve for Krishna in such a way that his entire body deteriorated to a state that it would no longer function. And when I read that offering, I was taken aback, because as an individual aspiring from Sydney in the Krishna consciousness movement, I do Krishna consciousness to my comfort, whereas these devotees are doing it out of their comfort zone. And now in this yatra, we had our brahmacharis. They went to and did preaching in the remote regions of New South Wales, in the countryside. And to me, that I drew great inspiration from that. So that seeing these sorts of endeavors, this is what Krishna consciousness is. It is not a movement with which we just idly sit by in our room and just meditate. It is a movement, it's a preaching movement. It's a movement where we move forward and try to preach this and share this knowledge with others. So these are the 2 points, determination and endeavor. And the prime example of endeavor, to me, there's 2 personalities. There would be Srila Prabhupada and Haridas Thakur, Srila Haridas Thakur. So for me, Srila Haridas Thakur, he would chant 3 lakh rounds, 3 lakh names of Krishna a day. And I tried during Krishna Janmashtami to at least try to recall Krishna for as long as I can. But by that I mean I neglected any activity which took me away from Krishna. And I found I only managed to focus maybe 9 hours out of that 24 hours. And so, but with the individuals and personalities like Srila Haridas Thakur doing 3 lakh beads or names of Krishna, that would take approximately 22 hours a day. So seeing that sort of standard, that is a prime example of endeavoring. And this is not something that we do on a one-off occasion. For me, that was a one-off occasion. I just did it on Krishna Janmashtami as a special occasion. However, we are seeing this personality doing it on a regular basis. So for me, for in my daily life, what I do regularly, that is what matters. And recently, I had the opportunity to listen to a small gathering led by His Grace Toshan Krishna Prabhu, and in that he was identifying what is devotion. And if most people you ask what is devotion, even myself at that time, I thought it was just doing rounds or preparing foodstuffs for the deities or like cleaning the temple. But then he said like, no, this is not what devotion is. So then what is the essence of devotion? And from what I had gathered, I may be incorrect, but what I gathered is that devotion is something that elevates our spiritual consciousness. So we are a movement called Krishna consciousness. So the sole point is our consciousness. If there is an activity that elevates our consciousness, that is devotion. And if there is something that removes us from that or distracts us, then that, although it may be seeming to be devotional service or may be seeming to be devotion, it isn't. So just like I think Ganesham Prabhu gave this example, like there may be devotion. It may be having when you're gardening, you may see weeds that look very similar to the plant that you're trying to grow. However, those weeds, despite looking the same, then they don't bear fruit. So similarly, that devotional activities which you think just by doing the motions you will receive some benefit, they won't bear fruit. Rather, you will just get a whole heap of weeds without deriving any satisfaction. So in this case, we must, rather than focusing on how much activity or how much seva we do, we should focus on keeping regularity and focus on keeping something that elevates our consciousness. So what I've not very well spoken, but from what I gathered, these are two main things. So determination and endeavors. We must be determined in anything we do, and with that determination we must endeavor. And these endeavors that we do, they must be regular. So His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj, when he first started out, he didn't even chant an entire round of mala. He started with one bead. But he kept that bead, he did that regularly. He did one bead regularly. And from that we slowly increase. And so similarly, what we do, it must be regular. And even more so than regular, must be done at a specific time. So for me, my chanting is not done in the early morning before Mangalarti. I'm not up to that standard. But I do have some aspects of my devotional service where I keep it to a regular time. So prior to going to university, I will do some sadhana that is done on a regular basis. So that regular seva is important. So even if we are distressed or we are unhappy in our Krishna consciousness, as long as we stick to it, eventually you will find occasions that to give you satisfaction. And last year, I had sort of point of existential crisis within Krishna consciousness, and I asked His Holiness Shubhak Swami Maharaj, why am I not deriving that satisfaction? Why am I not deriving that full 100% belief in this movement? Then what I am doing is benefiting me. And to me, he had answered, the answer will be revealed to you. And when I hear these sorts of terms, the answer will be revealed to you, it sounds like so far-fetched. How is it going to be revealed to me? Like I've been doing for like 15 years, although it may not be as like 16 rounds a day, but I've been within the movement, been listening every day, been chanting. And then I still haven't had that full conviction, whereas some people, within just a space of 1 year, they arrived at whole full 100% belief. And then then this year happened, and similarly I had a similar occasion of why am I still not getting that full belief. However, then something really dramatic had happened in my life, and then upon that, this belief just flourished. It blossomed within my heart, and now, no matter how much skeptic articles I read, or no matter how much criticism I read on our movement or on Krishna consciousness, it can't allay my conviction or my faith or my determination in this movement. So Jayapatra Maharaj, he just like said it simply that don't deviate, just stick to what you do, and it will work. Like there's no need to do like external things. Just chant your rounds, read Krishna and Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and you'll be fine. And if as long as you keep that faith, it may take 15 years, may take 20 years, may take 30 years, but at one stage you'll develop that belief. And once you have that belief, then there you can scale it up. Because if we are doing this devotional service with that belief, if you don't trust the process, then you might as well just give it all up and enjoy yourself, and enjoy sense gratification. Because ultimately, we are doing this for our enjoyment. It's not a dry process. It's a loving process and something with which to derive nectar. And so I will conclude on this point. Thank you for tolerating me. Hare Krishna. Shake. Wow, it's so hard to speak.